So thank you. So thank you. So we can please start.
Okay. So let me start with saying thank you to all the panelists, like the organizers, to those who have made this session possible, right? By background, I'm a lawyer, and also I'm dabbling my hands into technology, right? But sessions of these kinds, these are the things which we are expecting, right? So that the legal technology scenario can boom in India. So let's begin with the session. So the topic for today's session is a roadmap for creating AI in legal services that can be accessed by millions, right? So the problem that we are trying to solve here is, so there are a lot of legal technologies mentioned, like present in this particular scenario, right? But the adoption of those technologies are pretty weak in terms of like the population we have, right? But the today topic that we will be covering, right? I'll be just trying to put forward my points, right? So I'll be starting with the basic of AI first, like so that everyone like who's all here, right? For example, legal students and everyone, right? So they get an understanding like how the AI technology works. Uh, then I'll be going to the legal AI pipeline, right? The products that we are creating here at Lawnics, right? And how those products will be helpful in like getting access to the market, right? Everyone is getting these services which can be accessed by the market. Challenges in reaching to the million users, and then finally I'll be discussing the ecosystems, what ecosystem AI product needs to bloom. So I'll begin with the first topic, right? So what does it mean to be an AI, right? Then there are a lot of definitions of AI, right? But the kind of definition which I am interested into is this: like any technique which enables machine to exhibit a certain degree of human intelligence, like sensing, understanding, reasoning, and generating. So sensing, understanding, reasoning, and generating, these kind of things has been part of the human life, right? Machines are not able to exhibit, right, until unless we as a humans teach them like how to undergo these processes, right? So AI is a technique which enables machines to exhibit this certain degree with the help of humans and even without humans as well. So when you see a picture, right, what picture do you see? You see a dog, right? Okay, so dog is a symbolic thing, right? But the picture is a presentation of that symbolic identity, right? So it is an image form. Then you just read thing like this: dog. Even dog is a symbolic thing, but the textual nature, right? So the data may differ. The one is the picture, and the other one is the text message, right? Then if you hear a dog barking, right, what kind of things that will pop in mind, like which person is barking, like, so it cannot be a human, right? Then again you will be ensuring that this is a dog, right? Because you can identify the barking, and you can associate those barking with a dog, right? Then you understand. So the idea is that there is a symbolic thing, right? And the language is a wrapper around that symbolic thing. So what we do is we just build those wrappers, we work with those wrappers, and then we try to reach the symbolic thing so that we can solve these problems. So the data, so the purpose of this slide is to show you that data can be in a visual language, like visual form, language form, and auditory form, right? Then how we perceive those data is up to us, like, and how we want to manage those data, that is also up to us. So if I just tell you, like, so what are the features of the vision, right? For example, if you just see a thing, what kind of things which you see it, right? So feature is more of a like how, like, what kind of properties a particular thing have, a particular object or particular human have, right? Okay. So in terms of vision, right? So what would be happening, right? So for example, first of all, you'll be noticing that it has a distinct color, right? So if I just show you chimpanzee and if I show you a lion, right? So you'll be able to identify it, right? And the color of chimpanzee and the color of the tiger or the lion will be a huge factor, right, in identifying that particular animal, right? Then the lions, right? What happens with lions? Like, for example, the tigers have the stripes, right? So those are the lions, right? Chimpanzee doesn't have those kind of lines, right? So if I just want to identify those tigers, right, then lines become a particular feature, right, in identifying that particular animal. And then the edges, right? So what kind of edges do you have? Like, for example, if I just need to identify a particular car, right? So what kind of shape that the car looks like, what kind of edges those cars have, right? So if I get to know those features in advance, right, then I may be able to classify that particular object into cars, right? And then again in an image, right, there are certain regions, right, which is very unique to a particular object, right? So using those regions, right, we are able to identify those things, right? For example, the unique thing which a motorcycle has is its tire, right? Then what happens to tire, right? For example, if I'm just trying to compare the tire with a particular animals cannot have a tire, right? So that particular region, right, the tire becomes a thing which is a unique factor, right, in interpreting that particular vision. Then comes the auditory features, right? Like, so if you're just speaking something, if you're just hearing anything, right, what kind of features they have? So the features, they have the instant waveform that is present in that particular thing that you're hearing, right? So these things we are not able to analyze, because these things are biological being trained right from the starting beginning, when you were born, right? When you were born. Then comes the spectral wave, right? Then that is also a feature that comes under the auditory part, right? And then signal parameters, like signals of that particular audio, right? So these are the features which can help a machine identify a particular noise, or a particular song, right? Then comes the frequency. So these are the frequency things, which is part of the audio, which can help you identify these systems, and then ultimately classify a particular voice that you are hearing, right? The voice may be of a human, the voice may be of a particular animal, or any instrument which you're playing. Now comes the language. Like, so how do you identify those language? Like, for example, if you just want to identify the particular language, right? So you'll be identifying those language as a vocabulary you have. For example, in law, right, there are kind of words which are being used in the law, but not somewhere else, right? So a vocabulary of a particular topic that becomes its own feature. So what other features we have in language, right? So it is a unique word ratio, right? So what is unique word ratio? In terms of unique word ratio, like the words which are not being identified, divided by the common words, like which are present in that particular text, right? So that is called unique word ratio, right? So if we get that ratio, then this can become a feature, right, that can help us identify the language, right, or classify a particular thing which is required under a particular task. Then the text of the length, right? How lengthy that particular text is, they can also tell a lot about the feature that we are trying to extract from, right? For example, for lengthy text, like, so in NLP, right, the length is the equal amount of tokens which a particular sentence has, or a particular document has, right? So that is how you compute those lengths. Then comes the frequency, like how many times a particular word has been used in that particular document, and what is this like what is the essence of that particular word in context of all the words that is being used, right? If a word is occurring many times, that it may happen that word might be important, right? Or it may be a stop word, like for example is a, right, and which are there to occur frequently, right? So this feature can help us identify that a text, or to work with a text in the way that we want for a task. Then comes the symbols, right? For example, what kind of symbols, right? So if a sentence has an exclamatory mark, right, so then that sentence depicts as something is surprising, or something exclamatory, right? So you want to react on those things, right? So if a symbol is being used in a sentence, right, it can have a different meaning, right? And that symbol can itself be a good feature to identify that particular text, or to work with that particular text, right? A question mark, right? Or a full stop. Like a full stop can be an answer, right, and the question mark can be a question, right? So to work with these features can also be helpful, right? And not just these question marks and the symbols, right? Even the smiley faces which you use in text, right, those can be features to identify like what kind of text it is, right? Even that can be helpful in the task, like in which you're able to identify the mood of the person, right? It's called sentiment analysis task, right? Then comes the deep features, right? These features which are hard to get, right, which you cannot build by own, right? But there are models which are available in the market which you can use, and then that can help you leverage those things to build the application which you want, right? So vectors, right? So vectors are the representation of the words in the 3D format, like the way you want to like the way you want to, for example, if you want to associate the word, right, with king with the queen, right? So the distance between the king and q in the vector form might be less, right? And the distance between the king and the bishop, right? So it may be like it may be pertaining to chess, or it may be pertaining to something else, right? But then these kind of things do exist, right? And then you can identify, like, if the words are similar in the vector form, that means the chances of occurring those words in the sentence becomes higher, right? And this is a particular feature that can help us to build application like this. Then comes the sentiment analysis, right? So what is sentiment analysis, right? The sentiment analysis is to identify the mood of a particular sentences, right? For example, not just a mood, but on what on a positive level and a negative level where the particular sentence lies, right? So basically, normally it's from 0 to 1, but sometimes, like, the way people work, it can be from -1 to 1, right? But 0 being the low on the negative side, and 1 being the positive side, right? So for example, if I just give an example, right? I like that particular movie, right? But the acting was bad. So this kind of sentences which may create a different kind of sentiment, right? Because a person like the movie, right? But this is a positive sentence, right? Or positive thing which is present in the sentence, right? And then followed by a negative sentence, like, for example, but the acting was bad, right? So whether this particular sentiment, like, what kind of results that particular sentiment analysis will be getting is different, right? So for example, it may happen that if you're just calculating from 0 to 1, it may be a neutral, right? Because of presence of these kind of things. Then comes the part of speech, right? Then if you have the sentence, the word, or a paragraph, right? Then you can attach those part of speech, like noun, adverb, and adjectives, right? Which can help us identify these features and try to train the models as per the part of speech. So this kind of feature, it can be really helpful to find the association between the words, like, no. So this is more of a dependency parser as well. And then comes the named entity, right? So for example, what is named entity? Named entity is the, like, the title or a particular role that has been assigned to a word, right? For example, Barack Obama is a person, right? And then Barack Obama is the president of United of USA. Then what happens? The USAN presidents, they are the title, right? And the Barack Obama is the man, or is the name of the person, right? So this is how you can classify these things, and it can be used as a feature while training the data in the database. And now, once we have discussed, like what are the features, right? So the thing is that, like, the features are required, right? The way the features are there in the present data, it helps machine understand those features, right? So when you just convert those features into the vector format, then only the machine learns how to deal with those features. So for example, if you just convert that particular piece of word, or a particular photograph, right? And then it will be converted into vector format, which might not be able to understand by humans, right? But the machine understand those symbolic things in vector format only, right? And then once we convert them into a numerical or a vector format, then we're able to train that particular model, right? Then what kind of model we can train? For example, there are supervised learning models. uh, for example, supervised learning model. So what happens in supervised learning model, in which there is original data with you, right? And then there is an annotation file, right? So what is the annotation file? So annotation file is the expert data that has been added on the original data, right? Which gives you learning, or which gives you a particular idea, like what kind of things which you want, like what kind of things you are expecting from a model. So these kind of things can help in supervised learning. So an expert annotates the data, and then the feature has been defined. While training, right, you will be able to identify B. For example, if I just annotate a particular picture, in which dogs are present, right? So I'll be drawing a bounding box on that particular dog, right? So what I've done, I've just told the system that, okay, here is the picture, right, and here's the location of the dog, right? And then you can just go to the features which I've provided to you, and then learn, like, how the dogs looks like, right? And the same in a similar way, the NLP works in the same way, right? Then the features as the POS tags, or any features which I have been telling, like which I have told you in the previous slides. You can pick them, and the machine runs from those features and those data which you're presenting to people. Then comes the unsupervised learning, right? So as we discussed, like in supervised learning, we have the original data, and then we have the additional annotated data from the experts, right? But then what happens in unsupervised learning, right? What we don't provide that particular annotated data, right? The machine itself is able to identify the patterns in that particular data, and then just given an output, right? So there are a lot of unsupervised learning that has been taking place and growing these days, right? Then comes the reinforcement learning, right, which is which is very different from supervised learning and also from unsupervised learning. The way the other reinforcement learning works is, right, the agent learns from the environment. Okay, and the agent is allowed to do a particular task. Like for example, if you're just playing a game, right? For example, Pac-Man, right? So the agent is the Pac-Man, right? And the task which we have given for the agent is to like for example, eat all the bubbles that are being present in the lane of the particular Pac-Man. So as soon as he eats a particular the fruit or the ball which he's supposed to eat, then he gets the reward, right? But if he's bitten by the ghost, then what happens? It gets a negative view. By these processes, the system is able to learn like what to do and what not to do in a particular environment, right? So using those environments, the systems learn, right? A good example of reinforcement learning is like how a car drives, is car being driven by the system, right, without any support of the humans, right? Then autonomous cars are the future of the world, right? So these autonomous car learn from the reinforcement learning, right, where the agent is the car and the surroundings of the environment of the road and everything, like where the particular agent is supposed to drive. Then that becomes the environment, right? And then based on the learnings, like for example, based on the positive feedback, based on the negative feedback, the system is able to adapt and able to learn how to drive itself, right, without hitting anyone. Then comes what kind of supervised learning are present. So those are being mentioned in the regression and the classification, right? So what is regression, right? So regression for a given data, like for example, if I just give you a best example of regression, right? The weather modeling, right? For example, what happens in a weather, right? If it is cloudy, if it is moist and something, like, is it possible that this will be raining, right? So regression is, right, or is it possible, what kind of temperature we're able to predict the temperature that is possible, right? So using the data, we are trying to derive a particular number which keeps on changing. The reason it keeps on changing is that because the input data also keeps on changing, right? For the continuous data, the regression is used, right? So for example, I give you another example. Uh, if there is a car, right, and Google Map which you're using, right, and you just enter a destination, right, and then what happens? The that particular GPS tells you that you will be reaching in 3 minutes, right? But the 3 minutes, how that particular system is able to tell you that this particular car will be reaching in 3 minutes, right? And that is based on various of data, be it like the traffic on the road, the weather conditions, and these things. So if we are able to train this regression model, we are able to estimate the time that we are able to reach in that particular time period. Then comes the classification. So what is classification? Classification is labeling a particular object or any entity, right, into sets. For example, a set A or set B. So if I just give an example, right, if you're able to classify a particular dog, right, so I can just say that this particular thing is a dog, or this particular thing is not a dog, right? So we have created two labels, right? Based on two labels, we're able to train systems and able to make the system understand that if a given image comes up, he's able to identify that this particular thing is a dog, it's not a dog, right? So this is how classification system works. Then comes unsupervised learning, right? So what is unsupervised learning? As I told you previously, right, unsupervised learning doesn't require the human annotated data, the additional data which human gives, the knowledge which human gives to train that particular system, right? So what kind of unsupervised learnings are there, they're kind of clustering, right? No, they're group of data, right? And then we just need to regroup that particular data into three groups, like, so that is called clustering. But humans are not able to analyze this data, so the machine is able to do it by itself, right? So that is called clustering. And then comes the association. So what is association, right? A great example of association which I gave you is the Amazon. For example, if you just buy a product, right, Amazon is able to tell you like what kind of product you should be purchasing more, right? For example, if I just if you buy a tea from Amazon, right, so Amazon might be suggesting you that people buy this particular tea from like this tea, and then also they buy this sugar from this particular department, right? Then also you should be buying this sugar. So this is how these things work, right? So this is what association is all about in unsupervised learning. Then I told you reinforcement learning. Gave an example of like how the car is able to navigate through the reward and punishment system, right? A great example of reinforcement learning is also chess, like chess or latest Go system, right? In which able is like a computer is able to play the Go by play and able to beat him in that particular match, right? By just using this particular reinforcement learning. Then once you have classified the data, right, the other thing that comes to mind, like how are you able to use that particular data into like into the task which you're able to. Then the system should be able to reason how this particular data is, and then the output which is required by a task like we do. Uh, for example, if I just give you a Google, like if you're using Google Assistant, right, and then you ask a particular system, so what kind, like just play me this particular song. So the intent which the particular sentence has, the assistant is able to classify and then like what are you looking for. Then it may happen that they might be playing your favorite song. What may happen, right? So these are the reasoning which has been built by the humans in that particular system, right? Which you are able to navigate throughout the process. Then comes the generation part. Then what is generation like? So for example, uh, uh, if you just take a picture from like picture and then process it through, the machine is able to learn it, right? But again the machine has to convey the output to particular person, right, for the task, right? Then it generates a particular data into readable format, like for example summary, right, in which a person is able to go through some summarized text of a case particular thing. So this is how these generation things work, right? And if we just talk about generation, then there is a particular algorithm called GAN, right? So they're able to generate pictures out of words, and these kind of things has been taking place in generation things. Computer vision application. So what kind of computer vision application you create? Like for example, if you just go through the whole process which I have discussed, right? You're able to classify a particular laptop in a picture, right? And the phone in a picture, the pen in the picture, right? So you're able to create the bounding boxes around that particular object, right? So which is called image localization, right? So now you know that where that particular object is placed in that particular picture. Then these bounding boxes are of many kind. For example, 2D bounding boxes, which is on the left, right? You're able to see that a bounding box has been created on that particular laptop. Then comes the 3D bounding boxes, which gives a three-dimensional localization of a particular image, like how the car will be able to, what is the position of the car in context to 3D data. Then comes the polygon bounding box as well, right? For example, there are in gems, like there are so many edges, right, which needs to be detected, and to assess the quality of that particular gem, we need to build a bounding box around that particular polygon, right? Then comes the allowed and boundary detection. Like for example, if a particular card needs to drive itself, right? So first of all, it just needs to assess the environment, right, where the road is present. So in this particular picture, you're able to see that a car is able to identify what is the lane in the target of that particular environment which she needs to drive in. Then comes the post landmark detection. So what is post landmark detection? The post landmark detection is like the features or the edges or the points on the faces, right? Which you're able to mark on the face, so that a person so that the person can use the application, such as no for example, you have been using you have been using a lot of no things which comes on the mouth once you use a filter, right? So these filters are being possible because of this landmark detection. So landmark detection helps you to identify what is the position of what is the position of your face, and and where the eyes are mentioned, where are eyebrows, and then put a mask on your face, right? So that you're able to use that application as a filter. What are the other application, right? So other application is segmenting a particular image, right? For example, semantic segmentation, in which you're able to see that the car has been segmented differently, the road has been segmented differently, and the pedestrians which are walking, right, and have been marking different. So a particular using this computer vision application, a particular picture original image can be segmented into these parts, right? Then comes the instance segmentation. So in instance segmentation, many instances of a particular same class are being mentioned. Like for example, there are different cars having marked in question. So it helps us identify like how many cars are present in that particular picture. Then comes the panoptic segmentation. So what is panoptic segmentation? It is a combination of the semantic segmentation and instant segmentation, right? And that has been done in the same in the same processing path. So but the computer vision is not limited to the objects. The way we use in the legal field is by the document layout analysis, right? So if I just discuss, like for example, there is a document in front of you, right? So before you read a document, right, you just skim through that particular document and able to identify the where the titles are, where the table is, right, without reading them, right? The reason you are able to do it because you are able to skim that particular data properly, right? So, for example, in this particular data, you're able to classify it into text, a title, a table, a figure, and the list, right? Once you have segmented these things, then you know like where the information is present, and then you can do the further natural processing to take the data out of that particular bounding box. Again, one more classification system that can be built is using the auditory form. Like so for example, there is a particular conversation going on, right? So in that particular conversation, right, you are able to classify where the noise is present, and you're able to classify where the silence is present, right? And where the speaker is speaking, right? So these kind of classification can be done on the audio data, and then you can use it, right? For example, you can use it to cancel out the noise in the conversations, and then you can improve the satisfaction of the satisfaction overall satisfaction of the audio which you're getting out from a video. So what are the other NLP applications, right? Then other NLP application we discuss is the sentiment analysis, right? No, getting it a negative or positive view. Then comes the text classification. For example, if this document is a particular that belongs to a particular class. For example, is this particular document uh, is this particular document a particular agreement, or this particular document is some belongs to some other task? For example, in chatbots and virtual assistant, we are able to process the query which you are getting from the system, and able to generate the required data from that query, right? For example, if you just ask for a song, right, then that Google play this particular song, right? Then Google knows to the intent that you want to play a particular song and which song you want to play, right? So these are chatbots, or these are the virtual assistants which are being done, right? So what is text extraction? So in a document, or in a particular text or paragraph, or in a particular data, right? So there are a lot of information that are being present in a particular document, in that particular paragraph. These information can be entities. These information can be relationships between the entities, and then there can be events also, like which has been marked in a date-wise format. Then the other applications which are being used by normal people is the machine translation. Like you just can just give a particular text in one language and get some other language as an output, right? Then text summarization. So a very interesting application of text summarization is in the legal documents, where you can just summarize the whole text and whole text, because if the document is 3 pages long, you can summarize those particular 3 pages into 3 paragraphs, right? Then the other application is like understanding the market intelligence, right? Then how the particular market, the sentiments going on, then what will be the impact of that particular sentiments in the market, right? Then then a very basic application which has been from the starting is autocorrect. Like if you just misspell spell a particular word, right, then it autocorrects, right? So these are the application. This is possible because of the NLP application. Now we'll be discussing the legal AI pipeline, like what kind of things we have been doing in Lawnics, and like how can we just make sure that these things are able to like able to give a better give a perspective about these technologies. For example, the first one is assessing like what kind of data we are getting, right? So in legal domain, normal data which you get is a document. So what is the document? Document is like anything which is in physical format, right? But the thing is that computers are not able to assess those physical documents, right? So what we do, we just digitalize those physical documents, right? Like we just scan it. So if everyone has used cam scanner, right? The similar kind of application that we have built it, but for legal industry, right? So that we are able to classify those documents into a particular category, right? Be it agreement, be it notice, or be it or any kind of things which you want to classify or tag them, that particular thing. Then those systems are able to learn, and the next time we will be uploading the same document, we'll be able to classify that particular document by ourselves, right? So this is what we have been doing. The other thing that we are doing, we are converting those physical documents into structured format, right? So by extracting those information. For example, how we do those things, we first of all we run the document layout analysis, right? For example, there's a document uh, like check. In check, we know that where in that particular layout, where the date is mentioned, where the figure is mentioned, and where the signs are mentioned, right? So what we do, we just train a particular model to identify those regions, right? And once we have identified those regions, we're able to extract the information and then structure them properly, which is not possible in the physical document, right? The reason that we structure those documents, because then computers are able to understand these things in a manner which a human is able to understand, right? Because a normal document, a normal image is of no use to a computer. That's why we structure the information present within this within those images, right? So this is how we do it. Then comes the learning part, like what kind of things that we are able to train the system for. Like we are able to train the system to understand the case data in a particular way. For example, like what are the entities that are being present in that particular case data? What are the relationship between those entities present in the particular data? Are we able to find a particular semantic relationship between those entities? So then we can classify those semantic relationship as well. Once we have gathered those data, we can just come up with the rules. Like for example, a case comes up in terms of Section 138 of Negotiable Instrument Act. So in Section 138 of Negotiable Instrument Act, there are many documents that goes into filing that particular case, right? So what we can do, we can just classify those documents first. Then we can extract the information from those documents, and then we can feed it into rule-based system, which are able to identify like whether this particular case is good to file, like is good for a case proceeding or not, right? So this is how we are able to do it. Like, so we're able to classify those documents, and then like extract those information out of those documents, and then feed it to the rule based system, like which is based on the laws we have in India. Then once we have identified that it is fit for a particular proceedings, right? Then what are the documents that are required for a particular proceeding? So what happens, we can, so that we are able to generate that particular document out of the data that we have expected, right? Then we generate a notice out of it, then we generate a filing out of it. So this is how we are able to do it. So this is what the legal pipeline that we have been following at Lawnics, right? And there are so many interesting things that we are doing at Lawnics. So now I'll be talking about the adoption, right? Then why we are not able to like India or any world, right, is not able to adopt legal technologies, right? because the kind of application that we are building, it may have a wrong assumption that it may happen that we thought that this might be a useful application, but under the wrong assumption we make the application. But once it enters the market, right, we are able to we just get to know that there is no requirement of that particular application. Choosing the wrong problem, right? For example, if you just want to reach out to the millions, right, you cannot choose a particular topic or choose a particular area of law which is very niche, right? For example, you cannot choose competition law to work on with NLP, and then expect that this will be adopted by the millions, right? The application which you need to, or the area which you want to work on, it should be accessible to everyone, and it should be required by the everyone. For example, loan cases, for example, check bounce cases, uh, and then many application consumer cases. These are the legal problems like which are being faced by many people, and the scope of applications widens up when you start, if you just choose the right problem to work on. Then the technology infrastructure. So if I just give an example, in India, around 80 to 85 people, they don't own a laptop, or they don't own a screen like which is larger than the mobile, right? So if you're just building in an application for these kind of for these kind of people, you just need to build an application which suits their technological requirement, which is the mobile. So if you just want to reach out to the larger audience, then you just need to build application for the mobile. The other roadblock for the adoption is the badly designed user experience. So the reason which I'm discussing this thing is because I've faced, like, in my litigation career and also in corporate career, I've faced many applications which is being very badly designed, and after using it once, I have not touched it at all, right? So we need to improve the user experience of that particular application, so that we are able to use them regular basis, right? And the things which are being used on regular basis are the things which will be scaled up, right? So for example, if I just give an example, right? Good example would be the Google search, right? So the Google search, you use it daily, right? So that's why the scalability of Google search is at a large number, right? So if you're building things which are good in user experience, and if you're taking care like where the audiences are, you're not choosing the wrong problem, then it's pretty much sure that you're able to adopt and scale that particular thing. Then comes the language barrier. The reason I'm talking about the language barrier, because if you just want to build an application, AI applications for the larger base, right? Then you just need to target the lower codes, and every state has different set of languages, right? And the accessibility of those languages are limited to the particular state. So if you just need to build an application, you just need to make sure the language, the kind of the application, the language used, it is accessible to everyone. Like you're putting Hindi also, English also, Malayali also, and Telugu also. So these kind of language, right? So the people able to understand those applications, and make can make a way around it, right? And use them regularly. So what is the other factor which we have faced is that value versus money. So the reason we are not able to scale that particular application is because the litigation lawyers at the junior courts are very they don't earn that much, right? So if you're not able to earn that much, they're not able to spend the money on the application. And if they're not able to spend the money on the application, we are not able to build an application or a scale application or sustain the product for a longer period of time. That's why the adoption strategies fails if you're not able to address that particular financial crutch a particular person or the particular end user is going through. Upgrading technical infrastructure of so what is the ecosystem? So ecosystem is that a particular thing in which a particular object grows, like for example a legal technology grows, right? So we need to build an ecosystem around that particular technology, so that it is able to scale up without any support. So for that, first thing that we just need to make sure that the technical infrastructure of judiciary is being upgraded. So as of now, the digital filing that is being introduced in the High Court and the Supreme Courts, right? So we just need to introduce these filings to the lower courts as well, right? So as soon as this particular kind of infrastructure reaches to the lower court, the adoption of the technology will automatically goes up. Then the publishing of statutes and the cases in machine readable format. So we just need to publish the statutes and cases in machine readable format. Otherwise, like companies like us, we spend a lot of time in organizing those information, right, and not doing the actual work which is required to do, like the training the machine model, right. So we just spend a lot of time on like organizing these particular laws and cases. Then third factor is the collaboration between technology and law university for the data set creation. So if you just want to scale up the process of building AI application, you need data set. And creating a data set is very cumbersome because it requires the technical knowledge also, and it requires the domain expertise also. So the way we can create this data set is through the collaboration of technology institute and the legal institute. Then opening of the regulatory sandbox. So what are regulatory sandbox? Regulatory sandbox are the environment in which a particular application is being tested, right? And just to make sure that the regulators know that this particular application is there, it has a potential to grow, but somehow the regulators are not allowing this particular application to grow, right? So they create a regulatory sandbox. Similarly, regulatory sandbox they have created for the fintech, they just need to create this regulatory sandbox for the legal tech as well, so that we are able to test these particular application in the real life, right? Like the prediction of the prediction models, right? Like whether these particular uh, these particular cases will be the chances of winning the particular case, that is the prediction modeling, right? So these kind of things we are not able to test it just because like under the law they are banned, like they're not being used. Opening up of courses to upskill legal fraternity. So if we just want that people start using the application, we just need to make them technology friendly, so that they can understand like how the technology works, and then opening up the courses too. Then again, the last factor which I want to introduce is the funding of the ideas at the POC level. So we just want to fund the ideas at a level in which we get a slight idea that this thing may work, right? So once we get those funding delivered to that particular POC level, the chances that particular POC may able to scale up pretty quickly. Thank you for being patient and listening. Any questions?
Thank you very much. So this is a very nice, I mean, introduction of what the legal people, I mean, what is the AI field for them in a nux. So, I mean, so if the attendees have any questions, they can ask. Okay, I can see a raised hand. Meera Patel. So, okay, maybe I'm allowing you to talk. Okay,
Sure.
so you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi Shubham. Am I audible to you?
Yeah. Hi, Meera.
Hi Shubham. Shubham, I'm a practicing lawyer in Supreme Court,
Yes.
and this is a very interesting thing that you're doing. I would like to know what kind of products have you built so far, and because I am a litigating lawyer. So apart from the basic search engines that we have been using for so many years, like SCC, Manupatra, and all, I think I'm also looking forward to AI evolving the legal profession in a way that it makes everything easier for lawyers. So please tell me about your products. I'll be glad to know about it.
Yeah, thank you for showing interest in the product, right? So as of now, like we are an Android-based application, and we have three features in the product, right? The first feature is converting a normal physical document to digital format, right? And once, if I talk about converting them digitally, it's not just digitizing a physical copy, but also the information that we expect from those documents, right? And you're able to classify. So uh, you have been managing a lot of files and the cases and the documents, right? But the thing is that the way you manage those files and cases, you're not able to do it digitally, right? Because then you have to tag the documents manually and able to search it, right? So what we do, once you start using a product, right, and start labeling it, right? So our product automatically learns from those information and able to classify those documents, right? So that you don't have to tag them manually, right? And then, so what you just need to upload a document, and then we just extract all the information, make it machine readable, right? So that we are able to search through those documents as well, and also able to extract information which can be used to generate another document.
Okay, now, I mean, I've been using Adobe Reader, for example, with the edit feature and everything. And I upload most of my work now because, in Supreme Court, High Court, we have online filing now. So far as searchability of a document is concerned, I'm using these basic softwares to do it. Now, how different it is, from these kind of softwares, and what is the value addition that, you're doing in this, and how do you use this to generate a new document in future?
So the valuation that we have, like, because there are a lot of products, similar products in the market, right? As you mentioned, Adobe is one, then CamScanner is one, right? But but the valuation is that we are able to classify those document as a legal industry, like, so we're able to classify it. For example, if you just upload a document, right? We know that what that particular document is. If we know what that particular document, we are able to extract the information out of it and then able to store it. For example, as I gave an example of a dishonor of check, right? So once you, like, for example, you just click a picture of a check, okay, then we automatically convert that particular image into a document, and all the information that have been mentioned in the check, we automatically store it, right? So similar these kind of documents, we store it, and if you just want to use those information to create another document, like for example to create a notice, right? So those information that we extracted from those documents gets automatically filled into the document that you will be generating, right? So the basic load which you are getting into practicing is managing the information that gets solved.
Okay. And how about drafting, drafting petitions and notice, I understand, and review or discovery of documents. Is your application addressing those issues as of now?
Like, we have three features. The first one is the document classification. Like, you just upload the document, we just digitize it, and then we store the information, right? The other feature that we are, like, will be introducing soon is the case, research based, which, like, you can be able to find the statutes, you're able to find the cases. But the way we are doing it is very different, right? Because as you know that we have already stored your information regarding a particular cases, which are the documents, the accuracy of searching a particular case increases, right? Because we have a contextual knowledge of that particular thing, right? So you're able to find the cases or find the statutes pretty much quickly. Then,
Okay.
yeah, then this thing, and the last we are able to do is we will be introducing the rule based system, in which, like, for example, if in a particular procedure, right, you are at one particular pace, right? So what is the next thing which you will be doing it, right? So our system will be suggesting the next thing which you can do it, right? For example, the next thing can be a pretty drafting a notice, right? Then it suggests that the next thing is a notice, and then once you click it, then the notice has been automatically drafted. So the kind of automation that we will be providing is pretty much like, which pretty much scalable, right? And also we are not able to do this kind of stuff in the general application like Adobe or any others.
Okay, and coming to the other legal AI tools which are there internationally, for example, Kira is one, which is in Canada, which Amarchand, the law firm, has started using. Then there is Law Geeks. I mean, there are n number of applications which are being developed internationally. I mean, I've really never had the privilege to use one of those applications. They're super expensive, but I'm sure you may have have had some exposure, or you must have researched about these tools. So I mean, would you shed some light on those as well?
Yeah, sure. Just to give you an example, right? So the Kiran application, which is being used by Amarchand Mangaldas, they use it for the transaction work, right? So okay, in litigations, these kind of work doesn't fall into, because in transaction you just need to go through a lot of documents, right? So, but if you are also transaction lawyers and you have a lot of documents, right, then even we can do those kind of things, right? But the object of the application that we are trying to create is not to is not for a particular segment, right? Let's say for a law firm, right? We're just trying to create an application which can be accessed by all the lawyers, right? That's why the charges that we will be taking will be very cheap, right? They are very cheap in compared to the Kira systems and the application
Yeah.
doing it, right? So the value which you want to take out of that particular application, that depends on how you want to use that particular system, right? We'll be providing you a particular application which is able to learn from the documents, and then how you use this particular application, that is up to you.
Okay, okay, great. I'm actually pursuing my PhD in AI and law.
Okay.
So just that you are doing the application part of it, I'm doing the theory part of it. So I was just interested to know. Thank you so much,
Thank
Shubham.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
thank
Peter.
you, thank you, thank you for the interesting discussion. See, Shubham, I have one question, or I mean, rather comment if you want. So, what you gave today is a very nice introduction to about what the, I mean, the persons in the legal profession should know about the basics of AI, right? What
Yeah.
about the other way around? So, we are in AI, right? So, what is our minimum basic law 101 course that we should do to help us?
Minimum, like for example, right, because you come from AI background, right, and then you just
Right,
want to
right,
understand the law, but the reason you want to understand is just because so that you're able to model the application in a way which you want, right, so that you have
right.
some domain expertise which will able to understand the features
Yeah,
that are present in the text and the writer. Okay,
yes,
so the way you can is with like learning about the jurisprudence, like, okay, not getting into a particular domain, but learn the jurisprudence, like the how the laws work, right, how the
mm,
judgment is written. Okay, it's not about getting the domain specific knowledge, but about like how do these documents are being drafted by the lawyers, or drafted by the like a judgment is drafted by the judge, right, how these judgment has been drafted, right, so that will give you more contextual knowledge about the
yes.
system that you're trying to create, right, so that is like how you will be able to uh, you know uh, like go forward.
Right. So, I mean, I was wondering. Of course, this is may not be. I mean, the work of a startup, but I was wondering if there is any such course or material. I have not found any, but this is just an interesting thing. I mean, just to see if we can pick. See, the problem with law in general is because for any humanities kind of subject or any such thing which is non-technical is that we all think we know the law,
Mhm.
which is actually a negative thing because actually we don't
Yeah.
understand. But we think, oh, I will see you in court, I will file a case, and so that undoing plus the right doing. So I mean, yeah, okay. Anyway, there is a question
Yeah.
from Rajeshwari Sridhar. So please mention the most important processing or tool a lawyer would require from an AI expert.
From AI expert. Can you just give some context about the question?
So the question is, I think the maybe if it is possible,
I'll
I
just
mean I can just
open the chat. I'll just open the chat.
unmute. Yeah. So can you please?
Yeah, thanks Arnab for opening up the
Yes, Rajeshwari. Thank you.
yeah. Hi Shubham, it was nice hearing from you. I work on AI and I mean it's the other way around. What uh, Dr. Meera mentioned. So I work in AI and machine learning NLP. So I would like to, I mean, we were actually looking at some kind of a summarization aspect of legal documents where I just happened to hear about this conference and I started attending this conference. So
Okay.
my question is, okay, given a lawyer, so what is the foremost or the one important tool that a lawyer would like to have as an AI assist? Okay, kind of like an assistant that a lawyer would prefer as
Mhm.
a automatic job rather than resorting to a junior assistant or somebody of that nature. What is the primary or one or two top tools, or it'll be a handy tool for the lawyer? So which do you think?
Handy tool for a lawyer, right? The thing is that the kind of activity that lawyer goes to, like for example, reviewing a particular document. Okay, and then once they have reviewed it, then understanding the information that is being present in the document, right? So once they have understand those information in the document, right, then how those informations are relatable to the legal system which we have, right? Okay, so it's not the one particular thing. For example, like if you just say like a review, right? Then a lawyer won't be relying on a particular software to review a document, right? Okay, they may rely to on a particular system, like for example for contract drafting, right? But in litigation, right, when the cases are very different, right, they are not able to learn that particular document. So this is how, like, but that totally depends on the lawyer to lawyer perspective, right? So some of the lawyers they write they draft their document by themselves, right? And then some of lawyers they have a particular no a subordinate who can draft this document. But but the value addition that a particular lawyer has, it's like once they get free from these tasks, okay, the networking they do with the client, or the the time they spend to like they're able to spend to get clients, that is something which is more valuable, right? So if you just ask me that this particular law, no, I cannot point out which particular law, but combination of these can give like give some time to a lawyer, right? Then he can free up time, and then he can just no like uh,
Focus
and
more maybe.
focus more on the practice, and focus more on getting more clients, right? To scale up his practice, right?
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I think a question of a similar topic is there by B. Ramprasad Alva. So, asking, as a student of law with an engineering and management degree, what is it that we need to concentrate and learn as far as AI and law is concerned? And a follow-up thing is that, or do we need to go back to combination of concepts and AI in order to scale up?
Okay, so he's presently a student of engineering, right?
Sorry?
He's presently a student of engineering, right?
No, no, law.
He's a like law student, right? And then he just wants to
Law
enter
with an engineering and management degree. So it's a student of law, but an engineering and management degree.
with engineering and management degree, right? And he wants to enter this particular legal technology field, right? And then he's just asking like what he should be doing it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so the thing which you do it, right, is that intern with an organization, those like those who are legal technology organization, right? Try to understand like how they, like what kind of processes they follow, right? And what kind of like from getting data, from cleaning the data, organizing the data, then like how to model that particular workflow, right? So understanding these things will give it a pretty much a good idea, right? How these legal technologies works, right? So once they do one or two internship, then they will be acknowledged about the process that goes into in building this particular AI system, right? And then not just like they can also like come up with their own AI product, right? And do so many things, right? Because the possibilities with the AI is so much in legal field, because like every like in any scenario, like they like the legal field is all about text, okay, and there's so many ways to process that particular text.
Correct. So I guess that does. I mean, okay. So if there are any more follow-up questions or comments, please. We have a couple of more minutes of time. Um, so anybody else from either the panelist or the attendee want to um, raise some issue, ask some questions? Okay, there is a question.
Sure.
Okay, there's just a thank you. So yeah, thanks indeed to you for this very nice talk. So these are very interesting things. As I said, so it's very hard to get people trained in both the fields formally. So yeah, so that is a very important thing, and I think in the coming years this skill is going to be very important.
Yes,
So
exactly.
law is not going to go, neither is AI going to go, and this thing can only help us, especially given the state, I mean, the increase of legal things, etc. So let's thank our speaker once more. Thank you once again, and
Thank you so much for being patient, right? I think listening all the talk and the way the things have been. But thank you so much for providing this opportunity. And I'm pretty sure like in coming years, right? This symposium will do great, right? Because the kind of speakers they are getting, uh, it's pretty good. Like I'm happy to see this kind of ecosystems developing.
sure. So thank you. So then, can we please close the session, this session, and we can
Sure.
start the private session. So is it